This summer, when Henry Farini asked me to introduce Michael McClure, I was already floating neck deep in the seas of mid-century Bay Area poetry and art. In those waters, I came upon books like Michael Rumacher's Robert Duncan in San Francisco, Rebecca Solnit's Secret Exhibition, Michael Duncan and Christine McKenna's Seminiculture. I found experimental films and documentaries and photographs and reproductions and letters and poems. I found link upon link upon link from makers I know well to makers new to me, who this summer radically altered my practice as a poet. The work of California assemblage and beat and funk and uncategorizable artists and filmmakers and poets, Michael McClure among them, refracted within me the seminal Black Mountain and Neo-Baroque work I have long drawn from, revealing new shards of color, new possibilities. And so I got unstuck. McClure arrived on that particular Bay Area, California scene in 1954. He arrived for me in Gloucester, 2015, through lines quoted in Rebecca Solnit's Secret Exhibition. The gesture, the gesture, the gesture, the gesture, the gesture, the gesture to make fists of it. I'd come upon these words before in Donald Allen's New American Poetry Anthology. Having looked up McClure after talking with poet Schuyler Hoffman, whose Dogtown to Downtown I published in my little magazine, Polis, in 2002. The words hadn't gotten to me then, but they do now, as the gesture of the poem fist aligns with my unshakable sense that the art we make must be an act, among other acts of resisting subjugation and apathy, an act to be coupled with other acts such as McClure's listen, 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 so that we may hear, as McClure does, the tendons whisper to the skeleton. In my reading and listening and watching this summer, McClure's generous light shone in many lives and in many places, particularly in his contributions to Wallace Berman's Seminazine, such as Peyote Poem in Semina 3, 1958, and a section of Ghost Tantra in Semina 8, 1963, and in his performance as the protagonist of Larry Jordan's short film, Visions of a City. I often imbibed this work at the edges of the day, deep late nights and pre-dawn mornings, when McClure's light was most welcome. When daylight came up, I found myself not in Cali, but in Gloucester again, where we find ourselves today, about to hear McClure's Greatness of Olson. Mindful of that theme, I turn now to some words from Michael Rumacher, who during the 2010 Olson Centennial celebrations spoke to us down Middle Street, a few blocks at the Universalist Church. It was not for nothing Robert Duncan sought the company of gentler, genuinely stronger men and women, of a Michael McClure, a Helen Adam, a Tom Field, a Denise Levertov, a Jess Collins, a Robert Creeley, or Charles Olson, whose strengths were grounded in acts of the imagination, the singular and spiritually muscular. So, now to hear from and of that gentle, genuine, imaginative strength, Michael McClure and Greatness of Olson.
Welcome to this glorious museum. I imagine you've all been here before. I recommend to you the Sloan Show. I think it's on the top floor. It's a life-changing experience. There are landscapes that Sloan did in Dogtown, or in the vicinity of Gloucester. Does this sound all right? Can you hear me okay? I beg your pardon? A little louder, easy. I'm afraid of getting too loud. Tell me if I get too loud. That's easy for me to do. Is that okay? Yeah. How's this? All right. Greatness of Olson. So, my first thought is Sung Dynasty Chinese landscape painting, about 1000 AD. In 1961, in San Francisco. I wandered unprepared into a major show of great painting and was lifted by the energy in a way that I would never be the same afterward. It was not only handsomeness of the works, but the amazing newness, as if such a thing had never been seen before. This quality is the muscles of the kingfishers and the lordly and isolate satyrs. New things are being brought about and continuously are brought into being. What does not change is the will to change. A poem of mine presented at the first Olson Festival in Buffalo many years ago for Charles. 1. The lumps that we are moving through these romantic storms of dark blue and silver waves. The lumps that we are reflections and counter-reflections of the winds and breakers themselves. 2. There is a central force in us, and it's everywhere, We are always striding into it. It blows in our ears and eyes. We are the core of it. Early in 1956, I edited a poetry magazine and asked Charles for a contribution to be side by side with Kerouac and Creeley and Robert Duncan and Ginsberg and Lebertov. Olson sent the librarian. I wondered then at the librarian poem, Olson's father, a dream, watching the shape and structure and energy of the complex dream becoming a calligram of itself, still kicking with neurons, springing into being. Elucidations I was reminded of, the elucidation of the DNA molecule by Crick and Watson and Franklin, the same decade as the librarian. Seeing the life in the thing, the librarian, the complex molecule. Another time, in that same decade, Charles sent me a Washington's birthday gestural poem. The energy, imagination, and inspiration of the poem lead to a remembrance of being with Charles in Dogtown, while he told the story of Mary and his last wrestling with the bull. The bull had become grown, and it was so powerful that it stamped the sailor man into the earth at night. Charles sat in the glade in Dogtown with a huge branch in his hand, enormous branch, something like he was writing in space and time, writing in the structure of space with it. And he told the story of Mary and the bull at that time. And it was like hearing Diogenes. It was like hearing Diogenes give a cosmogony. Excuse me, it's like hearing Hesiod giving a cosmogony. Early in life, San Francisco became my destination. I believe that Mark Rothko, the painter, and Clifford Still, the painter, were teaching there. What I wanted to do was to learn from gestural painters how to place the philosophy of abstract expressionism into my future poetry. But, like many young men, I didn't bother to look at the dates on the catalog. And when I arrived in San Francisco, Still and Rothko had left about 3 years before. By great good fortune and a great loop in my life, a marvelous transition happened, and I switched from my hope to study with Still and Rothko to being with Robert Duncan and becoming a close associate of Robert and Jess Collins. And, of course, that immediately led to projective verse. The success of projectivity in my first book was only partial, though it did contain For the Death of 100 Whales, which was my first utterly successful projective poem. It was not till a second book, Dark Brown, that I was satisfied. Charles had sent me a George Washington's birthday poem, which contained all of that gesturality, which contained the gesturality, if there is such a word, that I'd been searching for. And I felt that another great thing had happened in my life coming from Charles's direction. There is no way this poem can be read properly except by Charles. So this is a multi-dimensional poem in so many directions. It's like a painting by Franz Klein or by Cy Twombly that you follow, and that takes you into more and more spaces in different acts of performance. It's a George Washington's birthday poem. And back in those days, George Washington's birthday was symbolized by people giving chocolate kisses to each other, wrapped in a little tinfoil. Wash's birth, a chocolate X. Okay, Mike. First in the hearts of the anagogic. The GG is for chicken. La ba. I have seen the women down in the paper mills. Like 1 mill is a postage stamp. La ba. Ba hu na ne, as for George Washington. Stem ti kel aj tip gongora. Stem tip kel tip gongora. Guapa duende. Meant a lot to me, and it still does.
Let's see what it looks like.
Okay. Can you see this? At the back? Can you see this? Okay. My second book, Dark Brown, I was satisfied had achieved my beginning of my projectivity. 1967. It should be. 1961. Dark brown. Oh giddy, blank white page. Oh dreamy man. Oh interred spirit bulk in meat and hand. Oh both are one. Oh love, black, white, dream, rose and purple, and green and scratched. Oh, sleeping lion, man, oh, beast, oh, black, odom, oh, depth within. O limited void as far as eyes can see and nose can smell. O dreamer, O pride, God, shit, and aching stretch rib, no not. Lion, not the shit of metaphor, the deep and singing beast, void instead. Oh, crap upon the page. I dream and walk in my dream with proud stride. I am clean and dream and brown-eyed. I am free of liberty. The body, the spirit are one. I am energy, am muscle space, am meat and colored cry, romantic light. Second strophe. Only man, God, I shit, love, beast, odom, call from dark nest to bone white space by means of nerve and tendon, speak, sing, through the space crossed by muscled energy. Or say a drift of music, real, heedless, whining, uncaring, bitter, rejoicing, hungry for triumph, lip smacking, oh, and never, never changed, and huge, freeing the man to what is noble, to the cloud-moving change he wrecks on what is about in the tiny, the huge void. The room and Milky Way about him, tossing his protein, wrestling my meat, throwing myself about in light, listening to the herd singer in the pit, in the pool, the relentless bad rhymer, sawing his ceaseless violin, flapping and clanking his appendages, moving the seeking, huge and beautiful mammal shape around and driving him to deeds, moving him through real clouds he disgorges, lighting my brown eyes with fire. Because dark brown wrestles with meatly sexuality and also wrestles with the ravening censorship of the day, it had to be sold under the counter. That was my first experience with that. But my first projective poem, For the Death of 100 Whales, was early enough to be in my first reading, which I gave when Allen Ginsberg first read Howl and Gary Snyder first gave a poetry reading, and I gave my first poetry reading. Jack Kerouac was in the audience shouting, "Go, go, go." Philip Whalen's first poetry reading, and not the first reading, but a glorious reading by Philip Lamontia. Anyway, this is a poem I read, which was my first projective poem, called For the Death of 100 Whales. It begins with a quote from Time magazine, 1954. Time magazine, 1954. Killer whales, savage sea cannibals, up to 30 feet long with teeth like bayonets. One was caught with 14 seals and 13 porpoises in its belly, often tear at boats and nets, destroyed thousands of dollars worth of fishing tackle. Icelandic government appealed to the U.S., which has thousands of men stationed at a lonely NATO airbase on the subarctic island. 79 bored GIs responded with enthusiasm, armed with rifles and machine guns. One posse of Americans climbed into 4 small boats and in one morning wiped out a pack of 100 killers. First, the killers were rounded up into a tight formation with concentrated machine gun fire, then moved out again one by one for the final blast which would kill them. As one was wounded, the others would set upon it and tear it to pieces with their jagged teeth. Hung mid-sea, like a boat mid-air, the liners boiled their pastures, the liners of flesh, the Arctic steamers, brains the size of a football, mouths the size of a door, the sleek wolves, mowers and reapers of sea kine, the giant tadpoles, meet their algae, leapt like sheep or children, shot from the sea's bore, turned and twisted, Goya, flung blood and sperm, incense, gnashed at their tails and brothers. The sleek wolves, mowers, and reapers of sea kine, the giant tadpoles meet their algae, leapt like sheep or children, shot from the sea's bore, turned and twisted, Goya, flung blood and sperm, incense, gnashed at their tails and brothers, cursed Christ of mammals, snapped at the sun, ran for the sea's floor. Goya, Goya, oh D.H. Lawrence, no angels dance those bridges, no gun, oh bow, there are no churches in the waves, no holiness, no passages or crossings from the beast's wet shore. I'm reading one of those books right now, one of those transitional books. I just picked it up a day or two before getting on the plane, called Beyond Words by Carl Safina, which deals with the social lives of elephants, the social lives of killer whales, and it's one of the most reaffirming and re-deepening poems, books that I've ever come across. That's Beyond Words by Carl Safina, just published. Olson's greatness brings out proprioception and the space of the meat body. Say, am I too loud? Am I loud enough? Olson's greatness brings out proprioception and the space of the meat body, that bulk that we are, into meta-center, freeing potential lightness of psyche and weight of a Sung dynasty mountain. As poets, we are mistaken to be obsessed with American poetry, overlooking D.H. Lawrence, Mayakovsky, Lorca, the English and Spanish Romantics, or Asian poets with their entirely different structures of languages, free of pronouns, time, and number. We're losing that. American poetry has been discovered, and it continues to be endlessly run through the fingers of many poets. This greatness of Olson is that poetry need not be strained into corrals of inhibited language. A curriculum of the soul does everything but point in the direction of a solo American poetry. Norse, some of the subjects in it are Norse, Arab, Novalis, Homer, Indian, organism. If there is a patriotism, let it be mammal patriotism or human patriotism, or something like an updating of Amiri Baraka's Nation Time, or the patriotism and polis and cosmology in Diane de Prima's art, the outspoken and fearless energy of Ed Sanders in The Fields He Masters. It is good to remember that projective verse is not free verse, is not metric verse or language verse. And the poet and artist create and explore spatially and musically. The artist opens to worldly arts and to mind-boggling discoveries in the large-scale structures of the worlds we inhabit. And since the elucidation and apparently unending discoveries in the DNA, RNA patterns of living into the endlessly tinier living material, we discover speculations and realities. The nature philosopher Friedrich Schelling said, "All art strives to be science, all science to be art. Poetry and philosophy should be made one." I'm going to give a reading of my own poetry. This is also from my first book, More Successful Projective Poem. I was working early in the morning in the produce markets in San Francisco, moving huge crates and bales in the darkness from trucks to trucks. A barricade, a wall, a stronghold, sinister and joyous, of indigo and saffron, to hurl myself against, to crush, or to be a part of the wall. Spattered brains are the imprint of a violent foot, to crumble loose some brilliant masonry, or knock it down, to send pieces flying like stars, to be the chalice of the hunt, to handspring through a barrier of white trees, at work, 3 o'clock in the morning, the produce market, moving crates of lettuce and cauliflower. Pre-dawn, a vision, the rats become chinchillas. I stand at the base of cliffs, sweating, flaming in terror and joy, surrounded in the mist by whirling circles of dark, chattering animals. The black lynx stares from a hole in the cliff. Rotten lettuce, perfume, the damp, carroty street. It is my head. These are my hands. I don't will it. Out in the light, noon, the city, a wall, a stronghold. Yes, there is but one politics, and that is biology. Biology is politics. We dive into the black rainbow of the end unless we spend our life and build love in creation of what is organic. The old views, worn and bloated, are a structure of death. Our breath is to serve the ultimate beauty of ourselves. Rain on the roses, blue sky, and you in my mind. Nothing could be kinder. I'm finding the way. Let's play each day like mayflies in December. This is the first part, and then this is the first part of a response to Rilke's Eighth Elegy. Now I'll make this mine. With every eye and pounding skulls, beasts see the opening. That's not true. Nor are they in some calm state for a leap to somewhere beyond the senses' field. Theirs is a less mental shape of cortex, brainstem, and starry tissue, and I have been there. I have dreamed there in fleshy hell, hoping to break time's tissue down and thereby crumple space to bring a heaven near to me. Me. I'll crumple space up as all creatures do, dissolving time. There is no clearing out there, no glade. It is all illumined by the arms and teeth that make it, and the laugh and cry. 2. My eyes were not turned back upon themselves, but went reaching out through all the wolves and elves that slept beneath my bed and in the corners of my head to outward sweep and draw my love brute back to me. My eyes were solid ghosts projected where the world unfolds. I see no separate oneness in the visages of beasts. It is strange to me, except that their clarity does not unfold to whirl itself to fireworks that blow my mind with lights, and with sights of this doe who stands beside the street in bright headlights of my car while her 2 plump spotted fawns blink toward my smile. Hey, you! Hey, dear, I'm on fire. You are more comfortable at some moments because your spirit has fewer swirls and your conscious body lives farther back in time. Death is beside the point. We're always dead. And in every way, this flesh is fair every way alive. Our extinction is the proof that we are flames, and the grass fire continues on lighting up the forest. Dear, you and I are of the same stuff, just slightly different mists of spirit. I could almost be your lover. You're almost mine. We're brother, sister. What glory is this universe that thinks? I always become an animal, and you are always becoming one, and you are always being one. It is one unfolding. It is unfolding one to the other, sister, brother. This starts out in Africa. Amy finding a crude black flint axe head in what had once been a manufactory. God knows how long ago. You find the unfinished, crude black axe head in the red-brown dust. Nearby, wooden bells clack and cattle are talking. There is the jeering and gaming of children over the hill. Hell's gate is in every instant, as is the featureless bland wall of paradise. There is griffonage and huge graffiti on the sizeless pages of smoke and iron, and a tree has white flowers in the traffic and sun by the roundabout. This is the shapes of our names as they touch each other, giving a beginning to shoulders and an end to daydreams about souls other than those made of a rich life. The home-going snails stare with pop eyes at delicious mold in the shade of the cairn, and 17,000 men and women near the coast of Persia live lives on a fleet of vessels carrying planes and missiles and helicopters and secret biological and cyber weapons and implements of penetration and radiation. And that was about 7 or 8 years ago. You can imagine what they're doing out there now, off the coast of Persia. This is a test for you. See if you're really listening. The marching band in the forest, the sound of jets overhead, the whirl of a washing machine, or a new breeze in the young mulberry branches. Carved in the consciousness, the hiding deer, the sun and the smells underfoot in the grass are also sizeless and without proportion. We have no containment. You and I are this freedom of the unstopping honks of car horns. It's so easy when I see the beauty of your bare ankles. It is raw here in this moment, with memories of the Caribbean, off the coast of Yucatan, and iguanas black on the walls, here where there are blue field lilies. Let our lives be as sleek and singular as a ruby-headed hummingbird in flight. Mid-air, we will draw up our tiny feet into the silver fluff of our feathers, and we'll jerk our tails and squirt clear, fluid excrement of the remains of digested nectar and midges onto the black and green lichen. Well, try something simpler. In 1962, I began writing a series of 99 poems in what I call beast language, which came together into a book called Ghost Hunters. And I knew I was going to write 99 poems, and I was committed to it. And the first one was like this. Goor, 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 ga, 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 gagoor, ga, gra, grir, griaur, gri, gar, 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 rar, gar, gar, rar. Be not sugar, but be love, looking for sugar. Ga, rour, goo. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That's the first, huh? By the time I'd written 67, some of them are heavily in beast language, some of them also are heavily in English, and some of them, who knows. 67, more pale pearl pink on the walls, and our daydreams projected outward in solid reality. We hear, we touch, we breathe, partitions rustle, and we do not care among the creakings and thumps, na geo thors, for we are incarnate joys. Rag triumph, each nostril is a booming perfection. The blackened skulls and rusty bolts are only a background for meat warmth that passes to something more. I like your eyes, liberty. Steam drips the windows in front of utter darkness that's so deep it's cool and sweet. Forget it. Take more wings, love. Marilyn Monroe died in August 5th, 1962. And on August 6th, 1962, I wrote, Marilyn Monroe, today thou hast passed the dark barrier, diving in a swirl of golden hair. I hope you have entered a sacred paradise for full warm bodies, full lips, full hips, and laughing eyes. Ah, gur, rur, know that, oh, farewell, perfect mammal. Fare thee well from thy silken couch and dark day. Ah, grur, aru, gar, na, ooth, ease, farewell, mur, drun, fara, rahur, 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 thee, ah, oh, thar, na, gru, rar. The dark blue snake flares up from the loins and lashes itself upon the muck-teed air, writhing the clouds of unspoken speeches and making fragrance of hemlock and copal. I see the lovers seated in groups upon the hillside. They converse in heroic whispers of Grur and Tories, reading their fates upon the scrolls whose bare arms unroll them for the dim but bare and staring eye. In the garden, we are beyond such nonsense and we smile. Ha tatoni mireb no ugrier. Gru remains uncurled from our cheeks, and we know it, Thao. Ah. Too loud, too soft? Huh? You can hear? What? City Lights City Lights Press reprinted this book in time for its 50th anniversary. Ghost Hunters. Ah. If you've seen me on television, which this seems to be getting around a lot, my reading that I gave to the Lions in the Lion House in San Francisco, this is that poem. Silence the eyes, become the senses, drive drool from the fresh repugnance, thou whole, thou feeling creature. Live not for others, but affect thyself from thy enhanced interior, believing what thou carry, thy trillionic multitude of gra, whooshes, and silences. Oh, you are heavier and dimmer than you knew, and more solid and full of pleasure. Gar, gar, gar. Gar, 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 gar. Grar, 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 gratar, grar, 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 grar. Gaher, gra. You're sure quiet. I love to think of the red-purple rose in the darkness cooled by the night, We are served by machines making satins of sounds. Each blot of sound is a bud or a star. Body eats bouquets of the ear's vista. Gar, booty, eyes, ears, nose, dim thou, roar, vorna, karumi nadru sirch nadi. The machines are too dull when we are lion poems that move and breathe when we groove. Handri Maiktas Sharu Srinado Dimdes One Ethus Ro. One dot April with his Shura Sota, the Rota of March hath pierced to the Rota, and bathed every vein and swish the core of which virtue engendered is the floor, than Sephirasake with his sweet of breath, and spirit hath in every hoot and haith his tender croppers, and the younger son hath in Ram his half a cour zirana. Dan small a foolish smaken melodia that slepen alle neat with open ear, so pricket hem natur, in heer courages, dan longen folk to goon on pilgrimages. To Fernahalmas, Sooth and sundry landes, and specially from every shires ende of Engeland to Canterbury they wende, the holy blissful martyr for to Seca, that him hath holpen one that they were Seca. Nadie comprendía el perfume de la oscura magnolia de tu vientre. Nadie sabía que tu martirizabas un colibrí de amor entre los dientes. 1000 caballitos persas se dormían en la plaza con luna de tu frente. I think I will read, I'll read a few haikus just to close off. So maybe 5 haikus. I forget. Where are you, haikus? Come out, haikus, you're in here. I'm not going to read a haiku, I'm going to read a plumstone. So this is the last poem. Fog. Fog. Fog around rainbows. Rainbow and clear light. Horseheads like eagles. Eagles like horseheads. Zooming through storms. Big drops splashing on the redwood deck rail. Inner and outer realm mated in sizelessness. Rainbows pouring over waterfalls. Waterfalls gurgling in streams of childhood. Compassion swirling through mercy. Birth goes out with wings of a light bulb. Always here in continuous practice. A brown moth nesting on old lace. And a can of peaches in tomorrow's firelight. Plum. Somewhere a plum is ripe, swirling like horseheads in rainbows. Purple plum, green plum, blue-black edging through white with hands in prayer. Ordinary as palm pressed to palm in a mudra, bowing and blessing after all these years. A plum is ripe. Cold, hard, gold-brown pears in the rain by the leaves, alert with bare branches, like kitten fur and deer eyes, plain as a skid mark. Ordinary, ordinary as bowing and blessing, zooming through storms. Eagles like horseheads, horseheads like eagles, fog around rainbows, like kitten fur and deer eyes, plain as skid marks. Ordinary. Ordinary as bowing and blessing, ordinary as palm pressed to palm in a mudra.